The Earth has often been called the blue planet, and today we're going to talk about what makes it blue: the water, the seas, the oceans. These oceans cover about 72% of the surface of the Earth. The rest is the land, the continents. The oceans also contain by far the largest amount of water on Earth. 97% of the Earth's water is in the oceans. Only a small amount is in the rivers and lakes on land. People usually say that there are 5 different oceans on Earth: the Pacific, the Atlantic, the Indian, the Arctic, and the Southern Ocean, which is the one around Antarctica. There are also many seas. A sea is smaller than an ocean, and it usually has land around it. For example, the Mediterranean is a sea. However, although we call these oceans and seas different names, they aren't really separate things. The Earth is actually covered by one huge piece of water, and all the parts of it are connected, except for the small number of seas and lakes inside the continents. The majority of all the water on Earth is connected in one enormous ocean, which can be called the world ocean. It is only humans that have invented names for different parts of it, like Pacific and Atlantic. The oceans of the Earth play a very important role in controlling the climate of our planet. As energy from the sun hits the Earth, a lot of it is absorbed by the oceans and the seas. Most of this energy reaches the Earth around the equator, around the tropics, because these areas are the largest and the closest to the sun. The water in the oceans is constantly moving around, and it takes heat from the tropics to the other parts of the Earth. The oceans take the heat from the sun and move it from the tropics to the polar regions, which are the parts of the Earth in the north and the south. The way that the water moves around the Earth is through ocean currents. One of the most famous ocean currents is called the Gulf Stream, and it takes warm water from the Caribbean up north to Europe. This keeps Europe a bit warmer than it would be otherwise, which is definitely a good thing. The oceans generally keep the temperature of the Earth more constant. It takes much longer for water in the oceans to heat up and cool down than it takes for land to heat up and cool down. This means that places near the coast have a more constant temperature than places more inland. In the winter, the water keeps the land warm, and in the summer, the water keeps the land cool. What's more, much of the rain we get on land also originally comes from the oceans. The oceans around the continents around land are usually quite shallow. The further you go out, the deeper they get. The deepest, darkest place of the ocean is called the abyss. Beneath the water, the ocean isn't flat. In fact, it looks a lot like the land in many ways. There are mountains, volcanoes, and also very deep holes in the ground. These are called trenches, and they are the deepest places on Earth. They are much deeper than the tallest mountains are high. The very deepest place on Earth is in the Pacific Ocean, and it's called the Marianas Trench, almost 11,000 meters deep. Most of the life in the oceans, however, lives nearer the surface. This is because life really needs sunlight to survive. It's plants that are at the beginning of the food chain, and they need light from the sun to make energy, which is known as photosynthesis. The smallest but most important animals and plants in the oceans are known as plankton. A lot of the rest of the life in the oceans depends on this plankton for food, from fish to whales. Life actually started in the oceans, and it stayed in the oceans for more than 3 billion years before it finally moved onto the land. The oceans have an incredible amount of life, an incredible diversity of life. The places in the oceans with the largest amount of life are the coral reefs. 1/4 of all species living in the oceans live here. Out in the open ocean, there's also the biggest animal that has ever lived on Earth, alive today in our oceans, the blue whale. Scientists think there may be more than 2 million different species in our oceans. But we don't know for sure, because we've only explored 5% of the oceans so far. There's still so much more out there waiting to be explored.